Hi and welcome back to another interesting tutorial. In today's one, we are going to be drafting a Victorian corset. This tutorial is so simplified even for beginners. Stay tuned and enjoy watching. So the first thing I'll be doing is to get all the vertical measurements marked out. So all the vertical measurements include the armhole length, the breast point, the underbust, the half waist length, and of course the blouse length. Okay, and for the armhole length, in case you don't know how to achieve your armhole length, all you need to do is to divide your bust measurement by 5 inches and then approximate to the nearest figure. Okay, so that's how you get your armhole length. So it gave me 8 inches here after approximating to the nearest figure, and then the breast point is 10.5, the underbust is 14.5, the half waist length is 17 inches. So after getting all those at the center fold area of my pattern paper, I move over to the side as well and I mark exactly the same thing so that I can connect all the points together. Meanwhile, for the blouse length, I'm going to be using the whole of the pattern paper length for the blouse length. That is why I didn't mark out the blouse length, because I'm going to be exhausting the length of the pattern paper for the length. Okay, so next I'm going to be connecting all my points together. It is this wide because I'm going to be marking both the front and the back on this particular point of the pattern paper. That is why you have it covering the whole width of the pattern paper. So here I have all my vertical measurements marked out, and as you can see, here is the armhole, the breast point, the underbust, and the half waist length. And then at this upper point I have one more point to mark out, which is the neckline length. Okay, so for that I'm going to be using 6 inches or 6.5 depending on what you want the length of the depth of your neckline to be. So here I have the neckline depth. Okay, so I have that also connected. So here I have all the vertical measurements marked out: the neckline, the armhole length, the breast point, the underbust, and then the half waist length. So next I'm going to be getting the breast distance measurement and divide it by 2. Okay, so for here the breast distance is 7 inches. You divide by 2 is going to give you 3.5 inches. So from the center fold of the pattern paper, you mark 3.5 inches all the way from the shoulder to the blouse length. Okay, and next is the shoulder measurement. You also divide by 2. So for the shoulder of 16 inches, by the time you divide by 2, it's going to give you 8 inches. Okay, so 16 divided by 2 for the shoulder is going to give 8 inches, and at the armhole length area I mark the same 8 inches, and I have the armhole length connected with a straight line like so. And after that, for the armhole length, I'm going to be dividing it by 2. I get the midpoint of the length, which is 4 inches, and at that 4 inches I'm going to be coming inward by half an inch for the armhole curve. Okay, so now I'm going to be connecting the armhole, but before I do that, at the shoulder area I'm going to be coming down by 3/4 of an inch for the shoulder slant, because our shoulders are not straight, our shoulders are slanted. So I'm going to be coming down by 3/4 of an inch so that I can have our shoulder well slanted. Okay, so here is 3.5 inches, and then I'm going to be curving out our armhole from that point all the way to the armhole length using an armhole curve or whatever that can help you achieve your armhole curve. Okay, so after that we have our armhole. The next thing is to get the neckline, and for this neckline I'm going to be marking out a perfect round neckline. So I'm going to be using 3 inches width and then 3 inches depth. Okay, that is if you are going to be using the yoke of your pattern. So that is why I'm marking this out, just in case you know the yoke is going to be used. And then I connect my round neckline, and next I'm going to be connecting the point at the armhole to the base of the neck to give us the shoulder slant. So here we have our shoulder slant marked out. As you can see, it didn't touch the base of the neck, just give a distance. And then coming down to the underbust, I'm going to be marking 1 inch between the dart line, that's the breast distance line, and then at the half waist length, that's the waist area, I mark out the same 1 inch between. And at this neckline area I'm going to be marking out 1 inch between the dart line as well. At the neckline area I'm going to be connecting just like you do for your normal bustier, you know, pattern drafting. And at the blouse length I'm going to be marking 1/2 inch between the dart line. In summary, at the neckline area we have 2 inches in total, at the underbust we have 2, at the half waist length we have 2, and at the blouse length we have a total of 1 inch. Okay, so I'm going to be connecting all the points using my curve rule. So you connect from the neckline to the breast point area on this other side, and then you turn over to the down part and you connect as well. You turn over to the other side of the dart line, you connect as well from the neckline to the underbust, and then from the underbust to the half waist length you connect with a straight line going downwards like so on both sides of the dart line. And from the half waist length to the blouse length, you're going to be connecting to the blouse length like so, giving it a little bit of a pointed shape like so. So now that we have the basics sorted out, it's time for us to go into the Victorian corset pattern drafting. And for Victorian corset, there is no Victorian without waist snatching. So for the under bust and the half and the waist, we are going to be taking out at least 1 inch from the waist measurement. You can take out 1 inch also from the under bust, but majorly the waist measurement, you take out 1 inch from your waist measurement so that you can have your waist snatched as much as possible. So that's basically it. So after taking out the 1 inch measurement from your waist measurement, whatever you have left is what you're going to be working with. For me, I'm going to be taking out 1 inch from both the under bust and the waist measurement, but if you want, you can just exempt the under bust measurement and just work with the waist measurement. You are going to be having the same effect, okay? And for this particular Victorian corset, I'm going to be having a total of 5 panels at the front, 1 at the center, and then the other 2 at the side, at the 2 sides of the top, okay? So making a total of 5, 2 at the sides and 1 at the center. And also for the dart measurement, I'm going to be using a total of 3.5 inches darts for the whole of the front. And here, as you can see, I've already taken out 2 inches. That's 1 on both sides of the dart line. I've taken out 2 inches already, so I have a total of 1.5 inches left from the dart because I've taken out 2, and I'm going to be distributing it, to the other sides of the top where needed. But before we go into all that, I'm going to be imputing all our body circumference measurement divided by 4 plus the seam allowances, okay? And to begin with the division, I'm going to start with the bust by dividing it into 4, and I'm going to be adding these 2 inches that we took out here for the dart. I'm going to be adding it to the bust after dividing it by 4. So the bust is 39 inches. When I divide by 4, it's going to give me 9.75, okay, which is here, plus the 2 inches that we took out at this point, okay? So we're going to be adding it to the bust measurement divided by 4, which is going to give us a total of 11.75. And then coming down to the under bust area, you remember I said I'll be taking out 1 inch from both the under bust and the waist measurement, but in case you do not want to take out from the under bust, just take out 1 inch from the waist measurement for the waist snatching. So after dividing the under bust by 4, I'm going to be adding 3.5 inches. That's for our dart allowance, okay? Remember I said I'm going to be adding a total of that 3.5 inches for the dart, okay? Coming down to the waist measurement as well, like I said, I'm taking out 1 inch from both the under bust and the waist measurement, but if you want, just take out only from the waist, okay? And I also add 3.5 inches after dividing by 4. And then coming down to the blouse length, I divide the hip measurement by 4 and also take out what we have at the dart allowance. Remember for the dart, we took out ½ inch on both sides of the dart line, making a total of 1 inch. So I add that to the hip measurement divided by 4, and now it's time for me to connect all the points together from the armhole down to the length of the blouse. And after connecting, this is what we have. I'm sure you still remember that we have a dart of 1.5 inches to work with. Remember, we have already exhausted 2 inches at this point. We are left with 1.5 inches to exhaust, okay? So for us to be able to distribute the remaining 1.5 inches to the front of the blouse. So I don't know if I mentioned earlier that we're going to be having a total of 5 divisions for the front of this blouse, okay? That's 2 at the sides and 1 at the center. But as it stands now, because the pattern paper is assumed to be placed on fold, we are going to be having 2 divisions at the side and the 1 at the center, okay? So we are going to be dividing this side into 2, and to get that done, we are going to be getting the midpoint of this distance that we have, between the waist and the body of the blouse. So we get the midpoint and then we'll connect all the way down. So now that we've gotten the midpoint between the sides of the blouse, the next thing that we are going to be doing is from the 1.5 inch dart that we have left, we are going to be exhausting using 1 on this side, so ½ inch on both sides of the dart line at the under bust and at the waist. And then we have both lines connected with a straight line just like so. And I'm sure you're following exactly what I am doing at this point. Remember, we are trying to exhaust our 3.5 inches dart allowance. So from this point, I connect with a pointed edge at the upper part down to the under bust, and also from the waist to the blouse length with a pointed edge like so. So at this point we have 2 inches here and 1 inch for our dart, so we have a total of 3 inches dart exhausted, and now we are left with ½ inch to work with. So for that ½ inch dart that is left, we'll come to this center point, and then at the underbust and at the waist we mark ½ inch from the center fold area, and just like we did to the side, we connect with a pointed line up to the breast point and down to the somewhere close to the blouse length. So at this point we have all our dart exhausted. We have ½ inch at the center, 2 inches for the at the bust line, and then 1 inch at the side of the blouse. So we have a total of 3.5 inches dart exhausted. So at the blouse length, I'm going to be coming up by 1.5 inches because I want it a bit basky at the waistline, and then I connect downward like so. So for the seam allowance at the side and the down part, I'm going to be adding a seam allowance of ½ inch. As you can see, I'm adding ½ inch already at the down part of the blouse, and then I connect all the points together like so. And I also come to the side and I add seam allowance of ½ inch all the way down like so. So after marking that out, I also connect like so. So we have seam allowances at the side and at the down of ½ inch on both sides. Okay, so at this point, okay, I'm going to be slashing them because those are the points that we are going to be cutting out, okay, to give us the shape that we really want for this Victorian corset. And for the upper part of this Victorian corset, which is the yoke, for the neckline, if you like, you can leave yours straight, but for me, I want it a little bit of a sweetheart at the neckline area. So I come down by ½ an inch at this center fold area, and I connect to touch the one side of the dart line, and from this other side of the dart line, I'm going to be connecting to the armhole area downwards just like so. So this is what our yoke looks like. So we have our yoke perfectly out. So if you like, you can use for your yoke. If you like, you can leave it as an off shoulder. Whatever you want, you can, do, as long as you have your yoke intact. So here you have 1, 2, 3 divisions for the front of the blouse, but if you open unfold, you are going to be having a total of 5 divisions. Okay, so at this point we are left with the back pattern to draft because we have the front completely drafted. So I divide with a straight line like so for the back, and to start with for the back, we're going to be starting with the zipper allowance of 1.5 inches. If you like, you can use 1 inch for your zipper allowance depending on how much allowance of fabric you have to work with. So we have the zipper allowance already marked out, and to start with, I'm going to start with the shoulder just like we did to the front. You divide your shoulder by 2 inches and then you have that marked out. Okay, so this is our shoulder divided by 2, and at this armhole line you mark the same thing, your shoulder divided by 2. So this is just me trying to mark out all the points for easy access to know exactly where I am trying to mark out anything. So I have the armhole, the breast point, I have here the underbust, I have this other line to be the half waist length, and of course we have our blouse length at the lower part. So I have the armhole line connected so that I can have the armhole curve marked out. And to mark the armhole curve, I'm going to first of all get the midpoint of the armhole length, which is 4 inches, and at that 4 inches, that is where my curve is going to start for the back armhole curve. Okay, so we have that marked out. And for the neckline of the back, remember the width that we use for the front is 3 inches, so we are going to be doing the same thing to the back. Note that we are marking from this line and not the zipper allowance. Okay, so from that point I mark 3 inches for the neck width, and for the neck depth I'm going to be using 1.5 inches, and coming to the zipper allowance area I mark the same 1.5 inches, and from these 2 points I connect with the straight line, and from this other point I curve out the neckline, and this is for the shoulder slant, so I connect somewhere close to the base of the neck. So that's it. And the next thing is to get our bust distance measurement, that's the breast distance measurement, and divide it by 2. So whatever it gives you, you mark from the center fold area of the back all the way from up to down. So for this one it gave me 3.5 inches because the bust distance is 7. So now I have one of our dart lines marked out using the bust distance measurement divided by 2. So at this point I'm going to be marking out the body circumference measurement divided by 4 plus our seam allowances. Okay, I begin with the bust measurement by dividing the bust by 4 and have that marked out. So the complete bust circumference measurement divided by 4 would give me 9.75, which is this point. And then I come down to the under bust area. Remember, we took out 1 inch from the under bust and the waist measurement, so I have 32 inches left for the under bust round. I divide by 4 and add 1.5 inch for our dart. And also for the waist, I took out 1 inch for our waist snatching and divide the remaining by 4 and add 1.5 inch seam allowance. And at the blouse length, I have the hip measurement divided by 4, so whatever that gives, you have that marked out. So this is what I have, and then I have all the points connected together from the armhole down to the blouse length. So at the under bust and the waist area, remember I added 1.5 inches for our dart allowance. Okay, so just like we divided 3, or we shared 3.5 inch dart allowance for the front, we are going to be doing the same thing to the back. So for this one, between the dart line at the under bust and the waistline, I mark ½ inch between the dart line. Okay, so I have both points connected. So at this point, I'm going to be connecting up just like we did to the front at the bust line area, like so, and then I come down at this point. I connect with the pointed line also to the lower part of the blouse. So at this point, I have a total of 1 inch, and I have ½ inch left to work with for the back. So at the zipper allowance, I'm going to be coming in at the under bust by ½ inch at the under bust area, and I also do the same at the waist area, and this would also help to eliminate any zipper bulge that we're going to be having at the back. So I connect from the under bust to the half waist length with ½ inch, and then I connect with the pointed arrow line up and down like so. So at this point, we have our 1.5 inch dart at the back exhausted, and like I already mentioned, this would help eliminate any zipper bulge. So to correct our zipper allowance area, remember we have 1.5 inch for the zipper allowance, and since we already came in by ½ inch at this point, we're also going to be coming in from this outer zipper allowance by ½ inch as well, so that everything balances up. So I have that connected just like we did earlier on, and I have the same, like I have basically the same shape between our zipper allowance. Okay, so by the time we cut this out, automatically it's going to take care of any form of zipper bulge at the back. Okay, and at the side, just like we did to the front, we're going to be adding a seam allowance of ½ inch. So I have my ½ inch seam allowance at the sides marked out, and I connect with a straight line. Okay, so at the blouse length area, like I said, I don't want it looking straight, I want it to look basque a little bit. I come up by 1.5 inch just like I did to the front at the side, and then I connect somewhere to the center. Okay, so at the lower part as well, I add my ½ inch seam allowance, and I have that connected. Now for the yoke at the back, it depends on the effect you want it to have at the back. Okay, so just play around it, whichever effect you want it to carry, then that is it. Okay, remember we have this length to be 8 inches, so I'm going to be coming down by 1 inch, making a total of 9 inch for the depth. So I come down by 1 inch to give me 9 inches at this point. Okay, so I'm going to be curving it all the way to this point to give me the back yoke. Okay, so I connect, and then I have it connected all the way to the armhole length. So with this, we are practically at the tail end of our Victorian corset pattern drafting, and as you can see, everything is well outlined for easy comprehension. So now it's time for me to cut out, and please watch exactly how I go about the cutting and where to cut. Okay, please note that before we cut out this point, I'm supposed to cut out the yoke. Okay, so I forgot that, so I'm going to be joining this together so that I can get the yoke cut out. So I have to connect back so that I can cut out the yoke first. Okay, so I have my yoke, and then I can proceed with the cutting process. And this is the ½ inch at the center fold area. Okay, so basically we have our front pattern ready. So this is what our front pattern looks like. If you arrange it and place our yoke over it, this is what we have in case you want to use the yoke. So this is what the front looks like. So I come to the front, and then I also proceed with the cutting. Please, like I said, pay good attention to how I'm going. You can see I'm going about the zipper allowance. You can see the shape it is taking. And after cutting the armhole and this shoulder slant, I cut out the yoke before cutting the main bodies, for the lower part of the back. Okay, so finally for our back, this is what it looks like. So now the point I want to make clear is this: for the back, since it's going to be lacy, that means you are going to be using a rope instead of zip at the back. Okay, if you want it widely open, like if you want it opened a lot, you can take out this whole center area of the back. Okay, but if you do not want that, you can bring this back and just take out a little bit after the zipper allowance or just the zipper allowance. Now, like I said earlier on, it depends on the effect you want it to carry at the back. If you want it widely open, like you want the back to really be open, you can take a hold of this out. But for me, I think that is excess, that is just too much. But in case you do not want that, for this center part of the back, you just take out as little or as much as you want and not the whole thing, because for me, taking out the whole thing is like almost leaving the back bare. But if that is what you want, then suit yourself. Okay, so that's the point I am trying to make clear here. So for me, I'm going to be taking out just this, and that's very fine by me. So I have that cut out. So after taking that out, you can see how much of the allowance I have for the lace at the back. Okay, so this is very fine. So here we have both front and back, and remember this is our center fold for the front, but I'm still going to be numbering them for easy identification by the time I am cutting on fabric. So I have 1, 2, 3, and for the back I have just 1 and then 2. And also I use arrows to give me exactly or show me exactly what I'm going to be putting together or stitching together. Okay, so at the front I have this as 1 arrow connecting to the same 1 arrow, and here I have double arrows to be stitched to the same side of double arrow. That's for the front. Okay, and then for the back I'm going to be doing the same thing, but because we just have 2 at the back, I'm just going to be using 1 arrow and then 1 arrow. Okay, and also this is our center fold for the back. Please take note of that, because it can be confusing when you cut on fabric. Okay, thank you guys for watching. See you in my next video. Please hit on the subscribe button if you haven't, and please drop your beautiful and lovely comments in the comment section, and also your questions are welcomed. See you. Bye.